back from Saigon, everyone turned their head. No one put their hand out, no one shared their bread.
G'day, welcome to Triangle Hat again. Just wanted to tell people why I left Australia almost 10 years ago and have been in Vietnam ever since. There's a few reasons, social reasons, personal reasons, economic reasons. My last couple of relationships in Australia weren't so good. My second last girlfriend in Australia, I won't bother talking about her, but she was an alcoholic bipolar stripper, so I think that says enough. But the last girlfriend I had in Australia, we were together about 2 years. I was working full-time, took on a second part-time job, and I used to play in a band, usually on the weekends, travel sometimes with them. Anyway, I pretty much supported this girl for the 2 years. She never had a job or any Centrelink payments or anything. I paid the rent, the food, bills, anything she needed, trips back to Sydney to see her family. Yeah, just whatever, you know, tickets to see bands play. All in all, I probably spent about 30 grand on her. Can't complain, I guess it's my choice. But there was no connection once the money stopped. I said to her one day, I'm moving in with a friend and there won't be room for you. And when that day came, she dumped me. And she actually hooked up with a fat ugly lesbian to get free accommodation. So whatever. Yeah, I was just burnt out. Just fucked. Just working 2 jobs, playing in the band. Wasn't enjoying life at all. You know, no money left at the end of each month. It's just ridiculous. Secondly, Melbourne has become one of these progressive cities that we hear about today with this third wave feminism bullshit. You know, feminists seem to control the narrative throughout society in Australia these days, and I'm glad I got out when I did, because I saw this coming. And I don't hate women. I have much respect. I have a girlfriend here, I love her very much. She's an incredible person. But women in Australia are just going down the toilet. They really are. Each generation is just getting worse and worse with this false narrative, whether it be we're living in a rape culture, or the wage gap, you know, or violence against women. You know, yeah, because men are never in violent situations. Give me a break. I feel Vietnam is a great place to live for a Western man. It's got nothing to do with dominance over women. I know what women will be thinking if they see this. My partner works full-time. She's got a great job. She has better income than I do. We've lived together for about 6 months now. Yeah, there's nothing there eating away, you know, like in Australia. You don't have to worry about anything. It's really nice. I mean, just recently in Melbourne, as little as last week, the feminists have petitioned against a documentary film being screened in Melbourne called The Red Pill. You know, just demanding to the public that this is an MRA film that, you know, discriminates against women, and it's not. But like I said, the feminist narrative is in charge of society in the Western culture these days, and if they don't like it, it's gone. Mind you, just not that long ago, there was a feminist movie called The Hunting Ground about rape on university campuses, or sexual assault on university campuses, and that was welcome to view by the public. So there you go. So yeah, mainly I came to Vietnam to be happy. I didn't know I was going to be happy, but I gave it a shot and it worked. I think probably the least reason I left Australia was my job. My last job I had for about 3 years, maybe a little longer, full time. I could see the industry I was in going down the tubes, and yeah, business was just dying in the arse. And I got out while I could. I was only 26 when I came to Vietnam. And some older guys in the business that I was in was saying there's no future here, you know, and they were worried, which I can understand if they've got young kids or they're just starting out buying a home, something I never wanted to do. So yeah, I packed my bags and I was here. I did stay in Indonesia, in Jakarta for a little while, a couple of months before I came to Vietnam. I can't say too many bad things about Jakarta. Just the religious aspect was a bit much for me. I've never been a religious person, and getting woken up constantly every 4 hours, you can't sleep longer than 3 or 4 hours in Jakarta, because they have these huge speakers with announcements and singing just all the time. It's a real head fuck for me. So I got out of there, and I'm really happy in Vietnam. I've lived in Saigon on and off over the years. I've lived down in Vũng Tàu on the South Beach, really nice, cheap, beautiful. I lived on the East Coast for a while. I suppose there's only an East Coast here, in a place called Phan Thiết and Mune. And then I lived in the countryside, in the rural area, which was Cần Thơ, down near the Mekong River, or Mekong, they say. So it's pretty nice. And now I'm back in Saigon. The lifestyle here is so different to Australia, and it's so easy to adapt here. When you're working 40 hours a week in Australia or more, 60 hours a week, and at the end of the month you have $50 in your pocket, I mean, it's depressing. It's really depressing. And in Vietnam, as a foreigner, I do admit there's an advantage here, being a foreigner. You can get a job teaching English at any level, whether it be elementary, intermediate, up to IELTS levels if you can. Any age group as well. You know, little kids, teenagers, adults, there's all kinds of classes available. You can get up to $25 an hour, and that's extremely good here for living. You can work 10 hours a week, 10 hours a week, and still have money left over at the end of the month after all your expenses. If you work 20 hours a week, you can bank $1,000 after all your expenses every month. I mean, there's no one can do that in Australia. No one. No working class person can do that. And that's another thing I've got respect for Vietnamese women. They don't bitch and moan about jobs that have to be done. It's a more equal playing field here. You see women sweeping the streets, picking up rubbish, painting buildings, mixing cement, concrete mixing. I mean, you don't see women in Australia doing any of that shit, you know? They just scream about having the high-paid jobs all the time. And it's another thing that just got me really down in Australia. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say right now. It's just those few reasons I really moved, and I'm glad I did. There's no regrets. I I originally came here with $2,000, if you need to know that, and that set me up pretty well. I think I paid about 3 months rent, found a job, found 2 jobs, and got a little motorbike, found out I could get like a 2-year visa pretty easily, and I'll give you more details about that in another video. And Vietnamese are really easy. If you don't make a problem, you won't have a problem. I mean, there's fucking heaps of problems here. It's a developing country. But if you can laugh shit off, not worry too much, it's alright. You know, you don't need to worry. I feel like I'm semi-retired living here, and it's a beautiful feeling that no one my age in Australia would have. I'm 34. No one would have that. My mates back home message me all the time, fuck Australia. Women are fucked, jobs fucked, the economy's fucked. I mean, when I first came to Vietnam, you could get 22,000 dong for $1 Australian dollar. Now, you get 16,000 dong for $1 Australian dollar. Okay? The Australian dollar is in the toilet. Either that or the economy in Vietnam is doing fucking great. Maybe a bit of both. Anyway, I'm thinking about interviewing a couple of mates of mine tomorrow to give you some other ideas why people ended up in Vietnam. They've been here about 10 years as well, so we'll talk to those guys later, and you can get a different perception of Vietnam from them. Cheers.
25 years since Vietnam. Some cool jobs and some cool scams, but I'm just doing the best I can.